What's going on YouTube? Your boy Young Mustard is back and I got another banger, and today I'm going to continue my rankings of each and every single position in the NBA. I'm sorry about bailing on you guys last week. I was supposed to finish it, but because I got sick and I haven't even been able to get a COVID test, because getting a COVID test is like getting a PS5 right now, I just had to quarantine myself and I couldn't even make a video in the process. Thankfully though, I am feeling a whole lot better, and if you guys want to show support, make sure you drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell for post notifications. Don't forget to follow me on social media. The links are down below in the description box, as well as the @ names on the screen right now. But enough of all the plugs and me trying to make you guys feel bad about me getting sick. Let's just get started with this video, alright? Because it's gonna be a pretty long one. Y'all know how these go. To kick things off, coming in at number 10, we have Julius Randle. Now, for those who don't know, on the Hoop Concessions pod, if you don't know, make sure you check us out, link in the description box. But on the podcast, I had made a comment about Julius Randle that I thought last year was a fluke. I knew that Julius Randle, when he was hitting certain shots that he was making, it just didn't look like it was repeatable for a guy like him. Like, Julius Randle's always been a good player, but all NBA, MVP worthy type of player, yeah, get the fuck out of here with that. And this year, it looks like we've gotten the Julius Randle of the 2020 NBA season instead of the 2021 NBA season. Because he's been a good player, but it's clearly proven this year that he cannot be a #1 option on a team. As this year we've seen drops in his points per game, field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage, averaging 19 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, but shooting 42% from the field, 33% from 3 on nearly 6 attempts, as well as 77% at the free throw line, which accumulates to a true shooting percentage of 52%. So as a #1 option this year, he has completely failed the New York Knicks, and on the defensive side of the ball, Julius Randle has never been some huge plus for any of the teams that he's been on. And this year, now that the Knicks have gone in a more offensive direction with the pickups they made this offseason and the re-signing of Derrick Rose, it's obvious that Julius Randle has more of a load defensively, and they can't cover for his mess in the paint, as for the most part he's been a negative on that side of the ball. Now, even though I just shit on Julius Randle for a couple of minutes there, I just did that just because Julius Randle has higher expectations than this now that he has signed a $100+ million extension. But despite that, he's still a decent scorer that I think could be a good one if he's the second option to a legitimate #1 guy. And even despite his scoring and defensive woes that he's had this year, he's still a very decent playmaker, especially for someone in the front court, and a good rebounder. I just genuinely think that Julius Randle is not in the right position to perfectly succeed because he's just not a #1 guy. But let's move on to the next player, coming in at number 9, and this guy is one of my favorites. I got Evan Mobley. Man, I gotta say, y'all Cleveland Cavalier fans, y'all got a gem. Y'all got a real gem in Evan Mobley. If you guys remember, I made a video a while back talking about the Cavs' chances to do some damage in the playoffs, and a huge reason why that video was even possible is because of the immediate impact of Evan Mobley. I mean, we're talking about a rookie big who has the ability to switch out on guards and wings on the perimeter, and I'm not talking about on occasion, but I'm talking he can legitimately switch out on them on a couple of possessions in the game, while still having the length and size to be able to bang down low with bigs. I mean, to have that kind of versatility coming into the league as a rookie, I mean, the sky is the limit for him defensively. I could see multiple depoys in his future for sure. And it isn't just defense that has made Evan Mobley, because offensively he's had a very sound season, averaging nearly 15 points a game along with 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks on a true shooting percentage of nearly 56%. And this isn't your typical big that just gets lobs all the time, even though a lot of his points are given to him by DG, but if you watch him, he's still able to go out there and get a couple of buckets that can catch you off guard. I mean, we just saw recently how he hit the Dr. J. Evan Mobley is truly a sight to see this year. He may win the Rookie of the Year, and even if he doesn't, the impact that he's had already on that Cavs team on both sides of the ball has been truly incredible. But moving on to our next player, coming in at number 8, we have Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis, I really don't know what to say about him. I mean, he's had a decent year, especially for his standards, but man, it's just been so weird to watch Porzingis play this year. and him not really produce at this star level that we all thought one day he'd be able to produce at. It just seems like we've accepted Porzingis for being what he is at this point, and that is a good starter on an NBA team that's going to contribute with some spacing here and there and some decent blocks. And that's tough because when he was in New York, so many people were saying he has potential to be a top 10 player. And remember when he got traded to Dallas, the immediate reaction was, oh shit, Dallas is going to run the league for years to come. Yeah. Yeah. But nonetheless, I'm not trying to shit on KP like that. He's still a really decent player, worthy of being on a top 10 list at his position, averaging 21 points a game along with 8 rebounds and nearly 2 blocks on 45% shooting from the field, and a career low from 3 on 28% from 3 on nearly 6 attempts, 88% at the free throw line, which accumulates to a true shooting percentage of 56%. Now, some may look at those shooting splits and say, why is Porzingis over certain players on this list? But I think the real reason is because his impact on this team is undeniable in ways that the numbers just don't show. Offensively, he may not be spacing the floor at the 3-point line that well this year by percentage, but in the mid-range he's shooting well over 40%, so that is a huge plus. And defensively, even though he's not the perfect player, he definitely has his faults, but because of the fact that he can play the 4 position instead of the 5, he's able to play far better help defense, and I think he's one of the better help defenders in the league this year. And that's been a huge reason why the Mavericks currently have a top 10 defense in the league. And even with his 3-point shooting, I do anticipate for it to get better, especially now that Luka Doncic is back and he's going to get a lot more open looks. And hey, say what you want about Luka Doncic supporting cast, everybody loves to shit on them, but while Luka was out, KP and Jalen Brunson, they were holding it down, putting up some decent numbers. So you got to give the man credit where it's due. But speaking on the topic of putting up great numbers at this position, that brings us to number 7 on this list, Domantas Sabonis. Now, I'm not going to lie, Sabonis is a very interesting player because on one side of the coin, he's a very talented offensive big. Like honestly, one of the most talented bigs in the league, with the ability to post up, solid footwork, can shoot the post hook, can also knock down the midi. He's a very good rebounder and very good passer. You can do a lot of 2-man game with him. High basketball IQ. I mean, there really isn't anything offensively for a big outside of maybe shooting the 3 ball that Sabonis can't do, and not only do, but do really well. And with numbers of 18 points a game along with 12 rebounds and 4 assists, shooting 56% from the field and 76% at the free throw line, it's no surprise that Sabonis is hailed as one of the most skilled offensive bigs in the league. But the reason I'm usually at a crossroads with how good Sabonis is because I don't know how impactful he really is to winning. And let me explain that. Sabonis has been the face of the Indiana Pacers essentially over the last couple of years, primarily since Oladipo has gone out with that injury a couple of years ago. But since then, the Pacers have been a fairly mid franchise that has been hovering around making the playoffs to being eliminated in the first round consistently. And this year they have missed the mark on so many expectations that they've already come out and said they're looking to trade a lot of the players on their roster, which I've been saying for years that they need to do because they're stuck in this category of not good enough to compete but not bad enough to tank, and usually whenever that happens, that means you need to trade a lot of your players and move forward with the rebuild. And that then brings me to Sabonis as the leader of this team. I don't believe Sabonis can be your best player because he's not good enough to guarantee you some playoff spot. And the reason for that is not because of his offense, because he's a very skilled offensive big. It's because of his defense. And for somebody who's damn near a defensive liability at the power forward position, you have to be not only very good on the offensive side of the ball if you want to get major minutes, but I'm talking about you probably got to be Jokic level good if you're going to be the #1 option on a team like that. And at the end of the day, Sabonis is just not that good offensively, and even defensively, he's far worse than what Jokic was in those years that we were saying Jokic needed to be better defensively. So in the case of Domantas Sabonis, I know he's a really talented big, especially offensively, but that's really all he is, a talented offensive big and nothing more than that. But speaking of talented offensive bigs, that brings us to number 6, and we have John Collins. Now JC is a really solid player. We all know he's fairly athletic, can put almost any player in the NBA NBA on a poster. And because of his athleticism, which leads to him being one of the better rollers and lob threats in the league, he is a perfect fit with a point guard like Trae Young, who's a master in the pick and roll. And he's not only a good roller and lob threat, but he's also a decent shooter, as from 3 he's shooting around 43% on 3 attempts, but hey, that's a good percentage, and he's still knocking down the ones that he takes, so you gotta give him credit. But along with that 43% from the field, he's averaging 18 points a game and 8 rebounds as well as a block, shooting 55% from the field as well, 79% from the free throw line, which accumulates to a true shooting percentage of 64%. Now, I know a lot of people are going to mention his issues on the defensive side of the ball, though I do believe he's improved from being the liability he was in recent years, especially a couple of years ago. But I do understand defensively he isn't even as good as some other guys below him on this list, but offensively, though he isn't the shot creator that a guy like Domantas Sabonis is, but his ability to space the floor while also being a great roll man and lob threat is a huge key for this Atlanta Hawks offense that heavily relies on pick and roll action, and it serves them very well as they are the second best offense in the NBA, and a huge reason is because of the effectiveness of John Collins on that team. But moving into the top 5 to kick things off, we have Draymond Green. Now, I know a lot of people are going to see this and just see red. Why the hell is this 7-8 point per game score in your top 5? And to that I say, look at the games, watch them. Draymond Green's impact is for sure a top 5 player at his position type of impact. This is a guy that defensively can legitimately go out there and guard wings and perimeter players, switch on them, and not only do a good job, but we're talking about do a great job. His help defense is amazing, his IQ is out of this world, and then in the paint he's an amazing post defender. I mean, the quality trait that you want in any defender, Draymond Green has it and then some more. I mean, sure, his averages of 8 points along with 8 assists and 8 rebounds, a steal and a block, shooting 55% from the field, it ain't nothing special, especially his points per game. But if you watch the games, you understand that Draymond's defensive impact on that Warriors team is worthy of him being at this spot. And it's not just the defense that gets him here, but he's also a great playmaker, because sure, he may not have the gravity of his own, but he's usually the facilitator of the team as the team heavily focuses on ball movement. Whenever you see Steph draw those double teams off the ball with the pin downs or whatever he's doing, it's usually Draymond Green that's making that pass to the open guy. So don't sleep on Draymond Green's impact on this roster, because it goes without saying what he does for this Golden State Warriors team. But let's move on to player number 4, and I have Anthony Davis. Now, I know AD's a pretty controversial player these days, especially for Laker fans that want him traded, but I honestly don't think that AD has been as bad as a lot of people have made him seem. For starters, let's talk about his defense. If we're being honest, Anthony Davis' defense was still pretty good. He still has the ability to switch out on perimeter players while being able to bang down low with the bigs. And sure, he still does have his flaws defensively, as in the paint he may not be the strongest guy in the world, if you know what I'm saying, but he can still hold his own for the most part. I think the reason why you've seen a noticeable decline defensively this year is just due to the workload that he has on that side of the ball. I mean, the Lakers just don't really have that many great point of attack defenders, and when you're on a team with Russell Westbrook, who's one of the worst off-ball defenders in the league, it's just gonna make your job to help and rotate a lot harder. And to ask AD to go out there and carry that entire side of the ball is just ridiculous to me. And offensively, if we're really being honest, a huge reason why AD is struggling is because of Westbrook. AD has to do a lot of high post action and force up bad jump shots, especially in the mid-range, because Westbrook always gets sagged off of and the defense is ready to help. And when AD sees those guys ready to help off, the best option is just to take a contested jump shot. And it really blows my mind, because if AD takes that contested jump shot and misses, they say, oh, look at that bubble fraud, can't make jumpers after the bubble. But if he goes in the paint and sees that double team or triple team or whatever it is and misses, they're gonna say, look at him, he's soft and unmotivated. And I'm not saying there isn't truth to some of those statements, but people are just acting like he's playing like garbage, and that's just far from the truth. I mean, even from a sheer numbers standpoint, AD is still playing like a top 10 to 15 player in the league. averaging 23 points a game along with 10 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks on a true shooting percentage of 57%. Of course, AD could be better. I would love to see a lot more low post action. Of course, AD's defense could be better. The guy was a defensive player of the year candidate for multiple years in New Orleans and his first year in Los Angeles. But to act like he's still not one of the top 5 players at his position is just absurd to me. But moving on with this list, I don't think I have to do too much explaining for the top 3 because their seasons speak for themselves, and to kick things off, we have DeMar DeRozan. I mean, what can I say about Debo that isn't already known? I mean, this guy put on a Chicago Bulls jersey and actually turned into Michael Jordan. I mean, we're talking about one of the best mid-range shooters in the game with the ability to play make that he got from San Antonio. I have to say thank you, Greg Popovich, for teaching him how to play make. And though defensively he isn't great, he's actually pretty bad, but offensively he has more than made up for it, especially in the clutch. My goodness. I mean, I know you guys saw it. Back-to-back game winners. I mean, literally not just back-to-back and back-to-back games, but back-to-back and back-to-back days. Yeah, I know I said back-to-back a lot, but I don't care. That's just how clutch DeRozan has been. He's got me talking in all these goofy little metaphors and shit. But I won't say too much about DeRozan because I made a video about him recently, and if you haven't seen it, make sure you go and check it out. But let's move on to player number 2. It's probably going to get a little controversial here, but I have Kevin Durant. Now, I know a lot of people are going to hear that and say, what? How could you not have the guy who's going to win the MVP at number 1? Well, we'll get to that when we get to number 1. But in the case of KD, he's averaging nearly 30 points a game along with 8 rebounds and 6 assists along with the block, shooting 52% from the field, 38% from 3, and 88% at the free throw line. That all accumulates to another efficient scoring season of 62% true shooting. And to think this is a guy that literally tore his Achilles 2 years ago over the age of 30. It's insane what KD has been able to do since then. And it's not just his scoring that's been great this year, but he's also been a really great playmaker and defender for this Brooklyn Nets team. And for a team that doesn't have that many specialists on the defensive side of the ball or as far as playmaking is concerned, KD's been able to carry this team despite that adversity. But that then brings us to the final spot on this list, coming in at number 1, and I gotta go with the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, I know a lot of people, especially Nets and KD fans, are gonna be pretty angry that I have Giannis at number 1, but let me explain here. Now, we all know Giannis numbers are always going to be MVP caliber. We just expect 25, 12, and 6 it seems like, but to be accurate, he's averaging 28 points a game along with 12 rebounds and 6 assists, a steal and nearly 2 blocks a game, shooting 54% from the field and 69% from the free throw line, which accumulates to a true shooting percentage of 61%. But aside from just Giannis' traditional stats being better than Kevin Durant, if you look at his advanced stats, it's insane also. When Giannis is on the court for the Milwaukee Bucks, they have a 116.7 offensive rating, and when he's off the court, it drops to a 108.8 offensive rating. And defensively, his impact is also insane, as for when he's on the court, they have a 105 defensive rating, and when he's off, it skyrockets to a 112.3. And we all know defensively, Giannis is arguably the best in the league. I mean, I truly do believe Giannis is the best player in the world right now, and at the very least, he's in the top 3. And this year, he's just picking up where he left off last year in the finals with another stellar regular season campaign that by the end of things may result in his 3rd regular season MVP. But hey, those are just my opinions. If you guys disagree, let me know down below in the comment section. Feel free to drop your own top 10 list and I'll respond to as many people as possible. And if you enjoyed this content, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell for post notifications. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.